Imagine everything you've ever learned about what a man wants in a woman was wrong. Think about how many times you've been told that all you need is to be pretty, loving, and available, and still he's disappeared. Today we're going to expose truths that have been hidden for decades, revelations that could completely change the way you understand the deepest, most hidden desires of the modern man. And the last revelation is the most powerful of all, because it reveals the desire that even men themselves have trouble admitting. But before we get started, subscribe to the Red Pill Feminine channel now, like it, comment on what you think a man wants most in a woman, and share this video with that friend who's always wondering why men don't stay. You'll be surprised by what's to come. Today's revelations can not only change the way you see relationships, but will also put you ahead of 95% of women. So let's get straight to the point. What do men secretly desire in a woman? The most common answer would be beauty. But that's just the surface. The truth is that beauty attracts, but it doesn't retain. And here begins our deep dive. According to Rollo Tomassi, author of The Rational Male, Chapter 2, page 21, the male instinct seeks fertility and youth, yes. But when it comes to choosing a long-term partner, the filter changes completely. What starts to matter is what's behind the appearance, the signs of emotional value and stability. And this is where many women get lost, because they confuse being sexually desirable with being emotionally valuable. The modern man's desire is divided between biological appeal and the emotional need for trust and loyalty, something he doesn't always admit, but which impacts every decision he makes in a relationship. How many times have you heard a man say, "She was everything I wanted, but something made me back off"? That something lives precisely in those secret desires that he himself doesn't quite understand. What if I told you that many of these desires come from a gap created by modern culture itself, which pushes men into superficial relationships while they secretly desire depth? If this makes sense to you, tell me in the comments. Let's now explore this second level of desire, the thing men can't say out loud, but that determines who they really connect with. While society teaches women to be independent, self-sufficient, and emotionally distant so as not to appear needy, what many men secretly seek is just the opposite. They want a woman who is a secure base, not an emotional competitor, not an emotional rival, but a partner who understands their world, not to subdue, but to build alongside. This idea is explored in depth by Suzanne Venker in her book, The Alpha Female's Guide to Men and Marriage, Chapter 4, pages 45-50. Venker argues that the modern man is emotionally exhausted. He lives in a time where he is constantly accused of being toxic simply for acting naturally, protectively, or assertively. And in the face of this silent war against his nature, what he wants most is to find a place where he can simply rest emotionally. It's not about submission. It's about peace. And that peace is very rare today. How many women are prepared to offer it? Or better yet, how many even understand the value of it? The woman who can offer this peace automatically becomes more valuable than the most beautiful, the most successful, or the most independent. Because, as Rollo Tomassi reveals in Chapter 10, pages 110 to 115, female emotional scarcity is the real differentiator. In an era of abundant sexual supply, what becomes rare is an emotionally centered woman who does not need to compete with him, who does not need to prove her worth at every moment, who simply is. Do you see the difference? A man doesn't just want a beautiful woman. He wants a woman who understands the silent codes of masculinity, who doesn't try to turn him into something he's not, who isn't an intimate enemy, but an ally on the invisible battlefield that is life. And here's a powerful question for you to ponder. Are you being the woman he can admire, trust, and desire, all at the same time? Most modern advice for women revolves around the idea of empower yourself. Don't need a man. Let him do the chasing. But if that formula really worked, wouldn't we be living in the loneliest age of relationships? Anyone who is willing to break out of this narrative needs to first do some self-examination. How much of your energy is focused on winning over or controlling a man, and how much is dedicated to truly understanding him? Because in the end, a man's deepest secret desire is not to find the most impressive woman in the world, but the woman who silently and completely understands him. If you are feeling this calling to go deeper, stay with me until the end of this video. The most powerful revelation is yet to come. And if you've watched this far, comment, "I want to be that woman he would never forget." And if the content is making sense to you, don't forget to subscribe to the Red Pill Feminina channel, like it, share it with other women who need to wake up, and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. Now tell me in the comments, do you believe that men really desire this kind of deep connection? Or are they still stuck in the illusion of beauty above all else? Now let's talk about an even more secret desire, one that's hidden behind layers of seemingly indifferent male behavior, a desire that many men would never admit even to themselves: admiration. But be careful, we're not talking about artificial flattery. We're talking about genuine admiration, the kind that comes from the real perception that the woman next to him sees him as a man of worth, even when the whole world tries to do the opposite. This need is directly linked to the male instinct for leadership and conquest. And contrary to what many people think, a man does not need a woman who commands or challenges him all the time. He needs a woman who sees him, who sees his efforts, who recognizes his invisible struggles. Philosopher and writer Theodore Dalrymple, in his analysis of modern relationships, states that the collapse of mutual admiration between the sexes is one of the main reasons for the erosion of emotional bonds. When women position themselves as morally superior to men, or treat them as someone who must constantly prove his worth, an environment of tension and devaluation is created, and this is one of the biggest killers of desire in the long term. Rollo Tomassi, again in The Rational Male, Chapter 6, pages 70 to 74, describes how when a man seeks a woman, he is not just looking for beauty, sex, or companionship. He is seeking an affirmation of his own masculinity. And this is not achieved through competition, but through respect. But today's culture has distorted these dynamics so much that many women confuse respect with weakness and think that showing admiration is a sign of submission, when in fact it is a sign of emotional intelligence. Think about it. When was the last time you genuinely admired a man, that you looked at him with reverence, not for what he gave you, but for who he was? Because deep down, a man wants to be recognized as a hero, even if he never says it out loud. And this is a point that separates the women that men forget from those that they can never erase from their memory. But be careful. This is not about pretending to admire. It is about developing the ability to see and value the masculine in a conscious way. It is about abandoning the narrative that places men as eternal enemies and starting to see them as partners with imperfections, yes, but with value. Value that deserves to be recognized. And here is a provocation for you to reflect on. Can you recognize greatness in a man without feeling like you are diminishing your own? Because when a woman develops this emotional maturity, she activates one of the most powerful triggers in the male psyche: instinctive loyalty. The desire to protect her, choose her, and value her above all others, not out of obligation, but out of connection. And you must be wondering now, but what about the men who abuse this? Who don't reciprocate, who take advantage? Yes, they exist, but they are the reflection of the collapse of a generation that never learned what it means to be a real man. And the solution to this is not to become a hardened woman. It is to become a woman who knows how to discern and bring out the best in a man of value. If you want to know what the deepest desire of all is, the one that surpasses beauty, admiration, and even sex, stay until the end, because it could forever change the way you see yourself and the way you are seen by men. Comment here, I want to be that rare woman, and take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel, Red Pill Feminina, like this video, and send it to that friend who only attracts men who disappear after a month. Maybe she just needs to change the way she sees emotional connection. We now come to the deepest, most hidden, and at the same time most powerful desire that a man can have toward a woman. And the truth is that this desire is so sensitive, so subtle, that many men spend their entire lives without even fully understanding it. A man's most secret desire is to be inspired by a woman. Yes, inspired. Not just loved, desired, or admired, but truly inspired to be more, to do more, to achieve more. And this has nothing to do with demands, emotional blackmail, or manipulation. It has to do with a quiet, firm, feminine energy that awakens in him the pride of being a man. The man who finds a woman who inspires him does not want to betray her, does not want to replace her, does not want to lose her. He feels deep down in his soul that he is better with her, that she sees something in him that no one else sees, and that drives him. This woman becomes, in his eyes, not just a companion. She becomes a muse, a life force, an anchor, and a beacon. But this inspiration only arises when a woman is herself aligned with her own value, not when she is desperate for acceptance, trying to please at any cost, but when she knows herself, respects herself, and positions herself as a unique presence. It is in this state that she becomes the woman he would never forget, even if decades go by. Lori Gottlieb, in her book Marry Him, Chapter 7, pages 142-147, discusses how the modern woman often pursues unattainable ideals in a mate, while ignoring the immense power she has in being a mirror of inspiration for the right man. And when that mirror is clean, free of accumulated hurts, free of cynicism, it reflects greatness, and the man responds to that with presence, commitment, and passion. A woman who inspires a man doesn't need to beg for messages, attention, or commitment, because her presence is already a summons. She doesn't force anything. She naturally provokes the desire to surrender. But this inspiration requires a level of awareness that goes far beyond what most are willing to cultivate. It requires that women heal from the wounds of the past, that they not project their frustrations onto all men, that they know how to differentiate an emotionally mature man from an emotionally immature one, and that they have the courage to wait for the one who is truly worth it. And here is the final reflection you need to make. Are you becoming the woman who inspires? Or are you just trying to survive in a game of appearances and emotional neediness? The choice is in your hands, because the type of woman you decide to be today will determine the type of man you will attract tomorrow. If you've made it this far, it's because something inside you wants more. It wants truth. It wants depth. It wants real connection. And I tell you, that path exists. But it starts with a simple step, the step of letting go of modern illusions about what it means to be a desirable woman and beginning to walk the path of the woman who is unforgettable. If this video touched you, comment, "I choose to be the woman who inspires." Subscribe to the Red Pill Feminine channel, activate the bell, and leave your like right now. Share it with at least 3 women who you believe are ready for this new level of consciousness. And if you want to continue on this journey of awakening, watch the 2 videos on the screen now. One of them reveals why men disappear after the first week, and the other exposes the 3 biggest female mistakes that drive away even the most passionate men. Don't miss it. Your transformation begins now. You're